Hello class, and welcome back to part 2 of Unreal versus Unity, why Unreal is better. If you have not seen the first part of this presentation, please open the other video in the description, as it'll lead into the beginning of this video here. Previously we had talked about how the similarities between Unreal and Unity, especially more specifically the similarities in the UI between Unreal and Unity via their hierarchy system, or in Unreal's case, the world outliner, the content browser, which allows you to filter through the files within your build, and the details of objects that are specifically in your build and or even elsewhere. Now, let's talk about some of the differences that these two programs have in comparison. It's still using the same things. As we also discussed earlier, there's a big difference between how objects can be moved into Unreal. Though in Unity you can still drag objects from the asset bar into it like this, but I don't have any assets in Unity, as there isn't any default ones, other than now there being a cube, whatever. There are specific default assets in Unreal that can be used as an example. This is true in Unity as well. However, Unity doesn't have this section here, which is a simplified version of their Create Object menu, as you can choose the basic objects, the lights, even the camera, and other class types, which would be the specifics of how actions interact with each other and what type of actions are able to interact with a specific type of item. We actually can summarize how this entire section differs just by the ability to bring in a cube instead of having to go through a drop-down menu, find the specific one, and make it. And we can do this as many times as needed, though we don't need that many cubes. And this is a big difference in between the two. This also works with making new lights. We have all of them available, while vice versa in Unity, we still have to do the same thing as going down and finding the lights manually. This isn't really a big deal. It's just a matter of Unreal's UI specifically being able to save us some time. Next, let's talk about some of the UI options that they did share and how they kinda differ. Realistically, the hierarchy system is kind of the same, except for one very big difference. You can actually right-click objects within the hierarchy to create a drop-down menu in Unreal that allows you to shortcut yourself to specific tools, such as operations in the build, such as focusing or adjusting your camera to zoom in on a specific item, snap view to object, etc. As well as find it in the content browser, and just overall just the ability to edit the object through the hierarchy itself. This is a very big thing that Unity doesn't have. Selecting it in there, it does allow you to select it in the build, but the problem is after that you don't actually have any ability to do that, as this is just normal right-click options for within the hierarchy, which is making new items. There's, however, no ability to go into the items and make changes, and nor is that available for selecting it in the build as well. You can only ever select it and then make adjustments through the detailed menu. Now, one of my personal favorite biggest changes between the differences between the two programs actually comes from this whole section up here. This is a lot more unique and flexible than what is available in Unity, as this right here is the ability to affect our translation tools. In Unity, we don't really have the ability to. We just have to change these. We just have the ability to switch between them up here in the corner. However, we are over here able to change how we are able to interact with it via using these tools. Though we have the quick keys on the keyboard to switch between them, we have the ability to manually select them here. Now, over here, we have other options. Now, in Unity, everything is free flow. There's no clipping to the grid. As you can see, there is a grid in the board. It doesn't clip to it. If you hold Control, moving it across that will now bind it to the changes upon the grid, which will be these big, which is why there's such big changes in location now. And the same will be for the other options as well. This is actually the exact opposite for Unreal. By default, these are built in and active, as the thing now continues to operate upon moving across the grid that is pre-built into the program. And with these, however, with these options up here, we're able to turn that on and off at will, dependent on how we want our building process to work. This is basically, we're allowed to customize how our game works. We're able to customize it. We can turn off grid snapping, so this is a loosely moves around. We're able to turn off rotation locking, so we can go for those in-between motions rather than just switching between new set rotation values, as well as scaling to specific sizes rather than going off of predetermined sets and just clipping to specific sizes. All with the ability to just straight up customize how you are able to build your game. Not only that, but because these specific options are within the build menu, they are less out of the way. More accurately, they're easier to access. In Unity, these options, the ability to switch between your stuff, is manually over here. Yes, the keyboard function is still available, but they're in the corner where you have to go from the build menu outside of the build menu and then back in. Where in Unity, in Unreal, they have kept it within the build window, so that while you're building in the window, you can still just keep your mouse in the window and have to spend less time here and there trying to make little changes that you need. And this is present with a lot of Unreal's UI choices, such as the ability to import the objects into specific folders, whereas in Unreal you simply have the ability to hit import and choose a specific area and choose the asset and its files in there and import it into the files there, while in Unity you still have to find the thing and you have to right click and then import a new asset manually, again through a drop down or pop-up menu created via right clicking. From here we can start to wrap things up. Realistically, we have to understand that Unity has been around for a lot longer. Unity was released in 2006. However, the newest version of Unreal, which was Unreal Engine 4, was released in 2014. And unlike Unity, which has been updated repetitively over the years to keep up with the times, Unreal Engine 4 is a reiteration of the program, so it does have a smaller community working with it. And this is where Unity really has the ability to outshine Unreal, because the community and the people that work with it have been able to build significantly more assets and more coding and more stuff for the program to work with that can easily make it catch up to Unreal. However, this is where it also comes down to being the hardest thing. A lot of these assets that you can get off the asset store that both of them have, Unity has assets on there able to make it capable of really keeping up with Unreal toe to toe, but these are all paid for. They're like $60 extra, just extra money, not free like the original programs are, just to get that visual scripting aid that Unreal gives you for free with blueprints, just to do all those other fun things that Unreal's able to do that Unity can't. But unlike Unreal, who hasn't been around as long, Unity has those options available to it in case a person is willing to spend the extra money to get them. Not only that, but as I mentioned before, online documentation is a very big present thing for these programs, and Unity will undeniably have a larger variety of documentation listed for it just because it's older and it has had a more mature, nurtured community that's able to help people with specific codes for more specific situations. However, I still have to state that Unreal 4 is the better engine in the long run. Its built-in blueprint system makes it more available to a much wider variety of people, as Unity requires the knowledge of a programming language in order to function. Unreal doesn't. This blueprint system allows the complete circumvention of that very harsh prerequisite that can oftentimes prevent people from getting into using these programs, but still allows people the versatility of using programming knowledge in these programs via Unreal Engine's use of the C++ programming language as well. Also, the specific UI options, that Unreal has over Unity make it a vastly different experience. A much more interactable experience, as you can interact with the objects within the build and the hierarchy to a far better degree than Unity gives you the ability to. All these and a bunch of the other menu options just give you shortcuts that Unity isn't able to do without forcing you to go through the menus up in the top and find them manually. For this reason, I find that Unreal 4 is simply better than Unity because it appeals to a much wider variety of people in usability, and because its UI is simply more intuitive. Thank you for listening to my presentation. My name is Mason Osborne, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening.